Okay, so in this situation, I am going to input the sun gear. I am going to have the ring gear as my reaction member. The output is going to be the carrier. And you will notice that it is a speed reduction and a gear reduction. And the ratio is about 3.5 turns of the input to 1 turn of the output. And it is in the same direction. So this time I am going to have the sun gear as my reaction member, the carrier is my output, and the ring gear is the input. So if you notice, the carrier is moving in the same direction as the input, and I went around about 1.5 turns for 1 turn of the carrier. So it is a speed reduction, it is a gear reduction, and the ratio is about 1.5 to 1. So this time I am going to hold the sun gear, that's going to be the reaction member. I am going to input the carrier and the output is going to be the ring gear. It's also going to move in the same direction as the output's going to move in the same direction as the input. It's going to be a speed increase, a torque reduction, which would be similar to an overdrive ratio. And if you notice that my output is almost 1.5 times that of my input. Okay, so this time the sun gear is going to be the output, the carrier is the input. It is rotation in the same direction, except this is a torque decrease and a speed increase, which would be similar to what you'd see in an overdrive gear. And if you watch closely, you'll notice the ratio. For 1 turn of the input, I'm getting about 3.25 turns of the output. So this time I am going to make the carrier the reaction member. I'm going to input the sun gear. The ring gear is going to be my output. And the direction, the output direction is opposite of the input. It is a gear reduction, torque increase, and I have just went around once with the sun gear, and it's about almost 2.25 to 1 for the ratio. Okay, so this time the sun gear is going to be the output, the carrier is the reaction member. I'm going to input the ring gear. The output direction is going to be opposite that of the input. It is going to be a speed increase, a torque reduction, and the ratio is going to be about 1 to 2.25. Okay, so what we have here is we have 2 Planet carriers from basically the same version of a Ford transmission, but you'll notice the different planetary count, because one of these is from a gas engine, one is from a diesel. The diesel having higher torque, so this carrier is going to have to be of a higher torque capacity. So you'll also notice this is made of steel instead of aluminum. One thing worth noting about this particular unit is if you look at these pins that the planetaries orbit on, you will see some discoloration, and that is from bearing failure. So we know that this is getting hot in the transmission, and it's cooking the fluid and it's discoloring those pins. So we would certainly not use this. And if you remember the spec for checking these, or the procedure is, they will give you because they're helical gears and the load is perpendicular to the pinion shaft, they'll give you a thrust washer in here, and they'll give you a clearance specification that you'll check with a feeler gauge, and you'll do a visual to make sure those washers are actually in place. And you can do that top and bottom. And you're also inspecting the teeth, make sure there's no chips. And you'll also notice that these teeth are slightly discolored, slightly blued. And that's from heat also.